That's what this video is all about. Today we're talking about how to skate quarter pipes, and I'll guide you through some tips and tricks. You're watching Roll Minnesota. Let's get our quarter pipe on.
We're rolling. Welcome to Roll Minnesota.
You're watching Roll Minnesota.
You're watching Roll Minnesota.
Minnesota seal of approval.
Yeah, we're watching Roll Minnesota. Subscribe.
If you've watched my videos before, you know that I love skating transitions. Quarter pipes in particular. It's where I'm most comfortable, where I'm most at home, and where I land the most tricks. If you've ever been to any traditional modular skate parks or even any of the new cement plazas, pretty much every skate park is going to have quarter pipes to skate. Now, I personally think quarter pipes are one of the most fun obstacles to skate. You don't have to jump real high, you can just kind of roll right into it, but it takes a little bit of practice to skate correctly. Also, an added benefit, hurts a lot less to fall when you can slide gently down into the transition, but that also takes a little bit of experience. That's what this video is all about. Today we're talking about how to skate quarter pipes, and I'll guide you through some tips and tricks. You're watching Roll Minnesota. Let's get our quarter pipe on. All right, so one of the very first and biggest issues people have when skating quarter pipe is all about the approach. If you come up too straight with the ramp, you're not gonna have the right angle or the right lean to stay in on the inside of the quarter pipe, instead getting your wheels caught up on top of the deck. So really when you come in, the first thing you wanna do is get used to that transition and riding parallel with the coping. Let me show you what I mean. So the more extreme you make that angle coming in, the easier it is to keep that forward momentum, but also to keep your ankles lean back in so that your wheels aren't scraping and grinding the top. We call that wheel bite, and it's a very, very common thing to experience when first skating quarter pipes. I'm telling you guys, it's all about that parallel ride and then drop back in. It's almost like you're doing a wall ride and then coming back into the transition. That's the way you want to approach this. And the more comfortable you can get with that approach, the easier every single quarter pipe trick is going to be to unlock. Now when it comes to quarter pipe tricks, the ones that are usually the easiest for people that are just beginning are the H-block variations, backside and front side. And that brings us to tip number 2, which is to tilt in your ankles. Now usually when you're skating a box or a rail, you can have your feet flat on top, but that doesn't quite work with a quarter pipe, otherwise you get wheel bite on the top of the box, the top of the quarter pipe. So what you need to do is slightly angle those ankles in or over, depending on which side you're doing, so that your wheels are up off the coping. Now this is easier if you're riding freestyle frames or anti-rocker frames. If you're riding flat, you gotta worry about those middle wheels too, but this is pretty easy to get the hang of, and I think backside is probably the play. So we'll start there and then we'll work into some more complicated grind variations that also need the ankle flex. Let's get it. Now this technique will become increasingly important when you get beyond H-block tricks and start moving into sole tricks, and especially top sides and alley-oops and other variations like that. The more of that forward parallel angle you have, the easier it's going to be to stay centered above the coping, and ultimately that's what we want from an approach, from a balance, and from a lock perspective. Again, especially as you get into those more complicated spin variations. So let's try that out with a couple more complicated tricks. If you're still having trouble with wheel bite, don't get discouraged. It does take some practice. And like I was saying earlier, the great thing about skating quarter pipes is once you figure out the approach of the angle, as well as the positioning of the feet and how to like lean in, everything else comes easily from there. So it just takes a little bit of practice. Now top sides are a little bit trickier because you need to be leaning inward into the quarter pipe rather than the deck. And I know that's a mistake a lot of beginners make, and it's tough to learn, thinking that it's all in the ankle, but it's really not. A lot of it is in the knee positioning and where your body is inside the quarter, almost like you're reaching for it. So we'll go ahead and get a couple top sides in, and then we're gonna crank up the difficulty a little bit with some spins and some switch ups. Let's get it. All right guys, another rule when skating quarter pipes is you wanna have wax. Wax really is your friend, and I know it's a little bit controversial at a lot of skate parks among skateboarders and scooter riders and other locals, so maybe ask first, but I can tell you from firsthand experience, you always wanna have some wax with you, and wax makes everything easier. At least in my opinion. You don't wanna get caught up on the top of the quarter pipe. Often that's the part that sticks, gets the wheel bite, so a thin coat of wax, gonna do wonders. Let's talk about true spin grinds. Now, true spin grinds are incredibly difficult on quarter pipes. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. And the reason why is they are a blind approach, a blind lock, and that just makes it a lot more difficult. Now, that's probably true of any obstacle. If you've ever done true spins on rails or ledges or boxes, it's also that same blind approach. But what makes it more challenging on a quarter pipe is you have to come in at that extreme parallel angle, push off, and go super ramp side and almost reach your feet at it. It's gonna feel like you're missing by a mile, but in all actuality, that's what it takes. And there's not really a great way to practice these than to just do them. So I'm sure you're gonna see this from me. I'm gonna overreach, and the problem is when you miss, feet slide out on the top of the ramp, and it is hip city. So fortunately, I've got the hip pads, I've got the shin guards. I would highly recommend you to have some protective gear of your own, but that's what it takes to learn true spins. So I think we'll put down a couple of true spins and move on to something a little bit safer. Let's do this. All right, next we're gonna work on the fakie approach with some of the zero spin tricks and some fakie spin tricks into grinds. And I'm not gonna lie, for a lot of people, these are very difficult to learn. They feel very awkward in the body positioning to ride up a ramp backwards, looking over your shoulder, coming in at that parallel angle. It just isn't a normal thing to do. Most people have one dominant shoulder. If you can figure out what yours is on flat ground, it's probably gonna translate to the quarter pipe. Also, if you haven't done it before, get used to just riding up a quarter pipe fakie and stalling, and then once you're comfortable with that, it's gonna make the grind a whole lot easier. All right, next we need to talk about spin tricks on transitions. Now, once you have that approach, that really extreme parallel approach, you're going to apply that to quarter pipes in pretty much the same way with spin tricks. So what you need to do is come with that really extreme approach and actually pop off the coping, almost get a little bit of a launch, and let the ramp do most of the work. That's really the key, is let the ramp do the work, just position your body. That's one of the great things about skating quarters. You don't have to jump. You don't have to be one of those people with a 5-foot vertical. Anybody can do this. So let me demonstrate, because yours truly, not super athletic, but even I can get quarter pipes done. Let's get some spins. I gotta be honest with you guys, that is my favorite trick to do on quarter pipes. One of my favorite tricks in general. I just love the feeling of popping up off the coping, rotating, wrapping the legs around each other and locking in. There's just really nothing comparable. By the way, you'll have to let me know what your favorite quarter pipe trick is down in the comments below. I'm eager to hear. I know there's a lot of different styles out there, a lot of variety, but you really can't beat that 270 back unity. All right, that feels like the perfect way to end this with the Fakie 540 topsole. It's one I've gotten really consistent at, and like I said, the Fakie spin is really my bread and butter. Anyway guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up for this one. That was the how to skate quarter pipes. I'll probably do a follow-up video on this, but again, let me know your thoughts, your favorite tricks, and your progress as you're approaching quarter pipes down in the comments below. That's one of the great things of this channel and having a community of inline skaters is watching other people progress. It's one of my favorite parts. So I wish you all the best with that. I'm Butch Lehman of Roll, Minnesota, reminding you to stay safe, stay healthy, and get out there and do some rollerblading. Until next time, everybody, peace.